Good morning, everyone. It's July 21st, 2026. Wherever you're watching from, hope you're having a great one. What you're looking at right now is F-35s and F-16s running precision strike packages through Iranian airspace, while CENTCOM's targeting network tracks Iranian ballistic missiles in real time. F-35, F-16. Night 10. 10 straight nights. On time, on target, every single time. Boom. Ballistic missiles lighting up the sky as they're intercepted and destroyed. And that's the central mission right now, systematically grinding down Iran's ballistic missile and drone stockpiles, as we're watching unfold in this latest wave of strikes. You can see deep mountain bunkers where they're trying to stash all of this. Hide, conceal, camouflage, that's the IRGC playbook. Tuck away as many ballistic missiles and drones as humanly possible and hope CENTCOM can't find them. Spoiler, CENTCOM keeps finding them. But here's what the IRGC wants the world to hear, because their propaganda machine is absolutely running at full throttle. They did fight back. They launched ballistic missiles and drones at US military positions and are claiming strikes on targets in Kuwait, Bahrain, Jordan, and radar installations across the region. But here's where it gets truly wild. They're claiming they took out and destroyed Amazon's primary data center infrastructure in Bahrain. Amazon. They literally declared war on the cloud. And this isn't out of nowhere. A few months ago, Iran threatened to sever the undersea fiber optic cables connecting the Middle East to the global internet. So the pattern is clear. Iran wants to inflict economic pain, bleed into the corporate world, and make the cost of this conflict felt in boardrooms and quarterly earnings reports, not just on the battlefield. But CENTCOM had an answer. The IRGC declared war on Amazon, and CENTCOM basically responded. 2-day delivery? We'll upgrade you to Prime. 24-hour guaranteed on us. And the footage coming out of Iran right now tells you everything. IRGC headquarters going up in smoke. Ballistic missile centers reduced to rubble. Iran actually flexed one of their underground drone networks just a couple days ago, and then almost immediately reports came in that it had been struck. That was at Tabriz Air Base, and just yesterday reports confirmed Tabriz was absolutely hammered by CENTCOM. So Iran's out here saying, check out our new drone fleet, and CENTCOM is basically filming the next episode of a show we'd have to call CENTCOM Responds. Because that's exactly what keeps happening. The moment Iran shows off an asset, CENTCOM reaches out and touches it. And now, get this, Iran is apparently pleading and frantically lobbying Qatar and Egypt to submit a ceasefire proposal on their behalf. Not for themselves, they want it to look like Qatar and Egypt are the ones pushing for peace. But from what I'm seeing, Qatar, Egypt and Pakistan, the trio that's been quietly tilting in Iran's direction, don't seem to be getting much traction. We saw the Qatari Prime Minister turn his back on J.D. Vance, and there are clearly some complicated threads running through all of that. But nothing on the ground is letting up. 10 nights, 50,000 American service members positioned across the region, and the next 72 hours represent a genuine fork in the road. Does someone take an off-ramp, or does the pressure get cranked up another notch? And stick around for the roundup section, because Ukraine just unveiled its 413th new drone system of the year, and this one is genuinely jaw-dropping. It's called the Thunder, and I've got a clip of it right here. This thing has the potential to reshape Army strike aviation entirely. We'll get into that about 3/4 of the way through. But before we go any further, I want to take a moment to honor the fallen, the national treasures taken from us by Iran recently. The army has released the names and images of 2 of those soldiers, First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, 25, of Ever Beach, Hawaii, and Private Isabella Gonzalez, 19, of Carrollton, Texas. Rest in peace. They will never be forgotten. Our thoughts and deepest prayers go out to their families, their friends, and their units. To every service member still out there carrying on in their honour, all of us back home have your back. What you're doing is the most virtuous thing imaginable. We are so proud of you. Thank you for continuing to represent your fallen so well. Now let's talk about exactly what happened, because if we rewind about 14 hours, it gives us a clear picture of how this is all piecing together. It kicked off at 4 p.m. Eastern on July 20th, when CENTCOM launched Night 10. F-35s, F-16s, warships and precision munitions striking Iranian command centres, maritime capabilities, missile and drone sites, and air defence systems across the country. Strikes were reported to have wrapped up around 9 p.m. Eastern. So while CENTCOM aircraft were still egressing Iranian airspace, the IRGC was already drafting its press releases, claiming it had launched ballistic missiles and drones at targets across the region during or just after the strikes. They're specifically saying they went after radar sites, because the US has been systematically dismantling their radar architecture. Iran's framing this as symmetry. You hit our sites, we hit yours. And sure, Iran can get a lucky ballistic missile through. We've seen that happen tragically. But here's what's key. Neither the United States, Bahrain, nor Amazon has confirmed that the Amazon facility was actually struck. I found an article stating Iran targeted Amazon infrastructure in Bahrain and US military sites in Jordan. That's the IRGC's claim. But claiming you destroyed something and actually destroying it are two very different things. Zero independent confirmation so far. What we do have confirmed is that CENTCOM executed Night 10 and that vessel transits through the Strait of Hormuz are continuing without interruption. Over 900 vessels have been facilitated by CENTCOM over the past several months. Roughly 450 million barrels of crude oil moved since early May. The IRGC is calling their missile salvos a radar clearing operation, and CENTCOM is basically handing them the longest receipt of destroyed Iranian radar systems that any adversary has ever received. Let's talk platforms, because what's executing these strikes is worth understanding in detail. The F-35A, C and B variants all pulling their weight across Iranian airspace right now. But before that, I want to tell you about what it actually takes to stay locked in like a fighter pilot does. And that's exactly why I built Max Afterburner Energy at maxafterburnerenergy.com. We've got nootropics, natural caffeine. The whole formula is built to keep you dialed in and focused all day without the crash or the stomach-wrecking heartburn some energy drinks dish out. I remember chugging energy drinks before combat sorties and air shows, and since fighter jets don't come with cup holders, I'd end up with a stomachache and a full crash 30 to 45 minutes in. That's exactly what we engineered around. L-theanine, natural caffeine, and nootropics that keep you running sharp like a fighter pilot from wheels up to landing. Head to maxafterburnerenergy.com, get on the email list. Cans are coming in the next couple months, and email subscribers get first access and discounts when they drop. Merch is also on the way. Check out this A10 shirt. I'm genuinely fired up about it. Should be live within the week. Join the list and you'll get a weekly recap from me of everything that dropped on the Max Afterburner USA channel and the podcast. Don't miss a thing. Thank you so much for the support. Now, the platforms. We're seeing high-resolution ISR being generated by MQ-9s and by the F-35 itself, because the F-35 is arguably the most capable sensor platform ever put in the air. It has a distributed aperture system that allows the pilot to essentially see through the airframe as they fly, and CENTCOM is leaning on it hard, using it to prosecute missile sites, collect ISR simultaneously, and network that data out to the rest of the package. Teamed up with the F-16 CJ Wild Weasel, which was purpose-built to hunt surface-to-air missile systems, you've got a combination that is brutal against Iran's layered air defense architecture. And when you look at the imagery, we cover it a lot on the live streams, the sheer number of sites Iran has constructed is staggering. Hundreds, potentially thousands of dispersed bunkers and launch positions, funded largely by roughly $500 million a day in oil revenue flowing mainly from China. Iran essentially took that cash, handed it to the IRGC and said, "Build us a war machine." And they did, for decades. This is what happens when a regime like this operates without meaningful pressure. It metastasizes, grows, and eventually becomes a threat that's genuinely difficult to address. But the F-35 and F-16 CJ have arrived with a very direct rebuttal. And now we're also seeing F-18s launching air-launched cruise missiles, ALCMs, with roughly a 1,000-pound warhead. The critical advantage there is standoff range. Iran is almost certainly protecting its remaining ballistic missile stockpiles with as many surface-to-air missile systems as it can stack around them. With an ALCM, you can release from dozens of miles out. Let the weapon thread its way in autonomously and have the F-16 CJ feeding targeting data across the network in real time, so every aircraft in the package is working from the same picture. The interoperability is what makes all of this work. Think about the Aegis system on the naval vessels executing the blockade. Ships talking to each other, pushing targeting data directly to fighter jets. The network is the sixth man on the court. It's what enables the precision, the tempo, and the lethality we're watching play out night after night. Now let's do an honest adversary assessment, because intellectual honesty matters here. The IRGC is degraded. They are not disarmed. They proved last night that they can still generate a coordinated multi-axis missile and drone campaign hitting multiple locations simultaneously. Reports suggest they still have somewhere around 2,000 ballistic missiles remaining. They're calling it a radar clearing operation. But here's the problem with that framing. A military force running a genuine SEAD campaign doesn't pre-announce it publicly. Tactical surprise is the entire foundation of suppression of enemy air defenses. Advertising your SEAD mission before you execute it is not doctrine. It's information warfare. And the reason their operational security has likely collapsed is that CENTCOM has spent 10 consecutive nights systematically destroying Iran's communications infrastructure. The ability to track and engage mobile radar and SAM systems in real time requires a network that simply may not exist at the fidelity it once did inside the IRGC. So this isn't a SEAD operation, it's a narrative operation. And the 10-day ceasefire they're lobbying for? Let me be direct about this. The word decimation actually comes from the Roman legions. Soldiers were grouped in tens, and the weakest one was eliminated by the other 9 to harden the unit. Iran is at 10 days, and they want the clock stopped at exactly this moment. They think the US is going to agree to another pause and give them the chance to breathe and rebuild. In my view, you extend an off-ramp to an enemy when they're acting in genuine good faith, when they've earned it, or when they have the demonstrated ability to honor it. You don't extend an off-ramp to an adversary that has historically exploited every ceasefire as a reset button. Fool me once, you know how the rest goes. You made it to the global roundup, and this one is worth staying for. Anduril just dropped the Thunder, and it's going to change Army aviation. Watch this clip. An operator flying what appears to be an Apache, and surrounding him are autonomous drone wingmen, VTOL systems with their own targeting capability, their own weapons load, and the ability to be directed by a single pilot from inside a manned aircraft. Force multiplication taken to a new level. We see it executing strikes against radar sites and SAM systems in a layered wave concept, the same wave tactics used in fighter aviation now applied to rotary wing. I'll do a full dedicated breakdown on the Thunder because it genuinely deserves it. And Ukraine continues to lead the world in drone adaptation. They now have a system that can approach a beach via watercraft, offload a .50 caliber weapon onto the shore, and begin engaging Russian positions. Ukraine is the live testbed for everything we're seeing in terms of advanced autonomous systems, and the lessons from that theatre are feeding directly back into platforms like the Thunder. All right, strategic picture. The IRGC is running what it calls a radar clearing operation, but their primary operation right now is an off-ramp operation. They want Qatar, Egypt and Pakistan to pressure the United States into a ceasefire so they can catch their breath, reconstitute, and then do what they've always done. The Amazon strike claim, whether it landed or not, and the radar sight salvos are both about projecting enough leverage to make that ceasefire look like a reasonable proposition to the international community. The proposed ceasefire apparently includes provisions allowing free ship transit through the Strait's southern and central routes, which means the hardliners actually controlling those choke points likely won't sign on, even if Tehran does. We'd be right back where we started inside a week. So what do you think? Do we hand them the off-ramp again? Do the strikes continue for another 10 or 20 days? Does this escalate further? Let me know in the comments. I read every one. Follow me on X and Instagram. I'm posting there daily. And swing by maxafterburnerenergy.com to join the email list. Totally free. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you on the next one. Ryan, aka Max Afterburner, signing off.